Gronowski, 9 for 130.
Oh, God. Yeah, well, you already hear Dylan and I talking about it, but welcome into the latest edition of the Whiteout Report podcast, post-game edition here on this Saturday night, coming to you at 10:30 Eastern time. Another loss for Penn State. This makes it 4 in a row, a 25-24 loss at Kinnick Stadium against Iowa. And as I said on Twitter, as we tweeted out the link, this is another one they probably should have won, right? I mean, there's a lot more to it than just this, and we'll get there. But on Penn State's next to last offensive possession, on that penultimate possession, Trevor Pena, highly paid receiver out of the transfer portal, has a ball hit him square in the chest in the end zone that if he catches it, they go up by 9 and probably win this game. He drops it, they settle for a field goal, and 2 plays later, Iowa is in the lead for good. But anyway, as always, I'm Marty Leap, joined by my longtime friend, colleague, and confidant, Dylan Callahan-Crawley. We're here again breaking down another Penn State loss, as I said. For those of you staying up with us tonight and sticking out, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, as always. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you share us, you follow, give us those super chats, all of that good stuff. But, Dylan, there's, again, I think at this point moving forward, me, you, and Clay were talking about this during the game. Obviously, there's not a lot in the way of expectations at this point.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it any less frustrating when you watch a team lose a game that, again, they was there for the taking and let it slip away.
Yeah, no, I mean, going, late into this game, Penn State had a 11-point advantage, 21-10. This was a game they had a chance to run away with. I mean, you look at it, they get the block kick, return for a touchdown in the first half, come out in the second half, come out with their best drive of the game in the game, best drive of the game on that first drive of the second half, 10 plays, 75 yards, score a touchdown, go up 2 scores. At that point, you're like, all right, they may be able to, not just win this game, they may win this game going away. But the defense just not good enough in the second half. Iowa with 3 straight scoring drives in the second. Iowa had 4 drives in the second half. 3 resulted in scores, 2 touchdowns and a field goal, and the last one was the last drive of the game. A lot of Penn State fans are going to be mad at Jim Knowles. I don't know if they're going to be mad. I don't know how many Penn State fans really are bothered by the results at this point this season. But a lot of people are going to be complaining about Jim Knowles today. Listen, Knowles hasn't been great this season, but coming into the season, we knew that this was always going to be, not always, but many were trying to tell Penn State fans that this was going to be a 3-year build for the defense. And we're seeing that. Not helping the matter. Penn State has no depth in linebacker this season, and they're not good enough in the trenches at defensive end or defensive tackle, especially defensive tackle. If you don't have defensive tackles, you don't have linebackers, you're not going to stop a nosebleed on the ground. And tonight it was once again a quarterback killing them on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Gronowski was 10 of 16 for 68 yards and an interception, and that won them the game. And it won them the game because Gronowski ran for 130 yards and averaged 14.4 yards a carry. No run bigger than the 67-yard run he ripped off right after Penn State had kicked a field goal to extend their lead to 24-19 with, what was it? I think 4 minutes left, somewhere a little over 4 minutes left.
Iowa had
67 yards up the gut by a quarterback.
Iowa 16 carries for 177 yards, 11.1 average in the second half. Well, most of that going Gronowski.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it was all game for Iowa.
Yeah, excuse me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, especially in the second half. But if you take away, even with Gronowski's nil down at the end of the game, they averaged 7.5 yards a carry. You take it away, they averaged almost 8 yards a carry. It wasn't good enough. And then, like you said, part of it is linebacker. The linebacker depth was not good to begin with. You lose Tony Rojas for the year. Dom DeLuca, God bless him. The kid tries so hard. He leaves everything he has on the field, but you're seeing the physical limitations of how much he's had to play in recent weeks getting exposed. You mentioned defensive tackle. I'd argue there's no position group on this team that's been more disappointing this year, other than the offensive line, than defensive tackle.
This ties into the Russian attack for Iowa. Do you know how many passes they attempted in the second half without looking?
2. I don't remember the being
two. They attempted one in the third quarter, one in the fourth quarter. Gronowski was 8 for 14 in the first half. After starting 1 for 6, he did complete 7 straight before missing on his last right before the half. But then he was 2 for 2 in the second half for 17 yards. This was, you know what this was? This was the 2023 Michigan game all over again.
Yeah, but this is even worse because that 2023 Michigan team, they kind of went on to do some pretty special things.
Right. But
that was a pretty good team. That's what it was.
Iowa realized that Penn State wasn't going to be able to stop them on the ground and just kept pounding the rock.
Yeah, and it's just, again, it's for so many reasons, it's disheartening. And I get what you said at this point. Like, I'm not upset. Like, you shouldn't be upset at this point. But again, it doesn't make it any less disheartening to watch them take a game they easily could. I mean, again, if your high-paid transfer portal wide receiver edition catches a ball that hits him square in the chest, we're having a totally different conversation right now. They would have won this game. They would have won this game if Trevor Pena it's not just the drop. It was a terrible. I don't know what Pena was thinking with his route on that play either. He beats the DB off his break, has separation, has release, and cuts it deeper to the end zone, which he didn't need to do. If he just flattens it out and goes across along the goal line like he should have, it's probably not that it wasn't an easy catch already, but even easier because he doesn't have the DB on his back. So I'm not trying to speak ill will on anybody or anything, but I'm very excited that Marquise Higgins will not be the wide receivers coach next year because this group has just been an utter disaster for 3 years in a row. And hey, I know there was some pettiness from Taylor Stubblefield when he was let go, and maybe rightfully so because Taylor Stubblefield wasn't the greatest recruiter in the world, but the guy can coach receivers, and the receivers produced under him.
Yeah, no, it's he definitely did less. He did more with less.
I mean, he turned Jahan Dotson into an All-American. He turned Parker Washington into a third-round pick who's doing some nice things in the NFL. He got Mitchell Tinsley drafted, it's not even on NFL rosters.
It's not even like Marcus Higgins is that good of a recruiter.
He's not, yeah.
Because when we were at Happy Valley Insider, I reported shortly after he got hired that I talked to my sources down at UVA or. Not sources, but those who watch the program closely at UVA, and it was that he's not the best recruiter. He didn't really handle that much when it came to recruiting, and I mean it was one of the many reasons that Penn State is in the position they are today with a coaching search going on. I mean. You want to go back to reasons James Franklin got more or less fired. One of them is that he couldn't get the wide receiver coach right since Josh Gaddis left the program. And, sticking with Marcus Higgins after last year was a poor decision. The wide receivers have not gotten better. The ones they brought in seemingly have regressed. It's unfortunate.
I think that's what's most disheartening with the receivers is the regression, right? I mean, it was unrealistic to expect Trevor Pena to come in and reproduce and do the numbers he had last year, right?
Yeah,
and that wasn't going to happen. Syracuse threw the ball more than any other team in the country last year, but he doesn't. He's it's drops. Kyron Hudson has struggled with drops. Devontae Ross can't get open. How much of it is the offensive scheme with Andy Koldernicki potentially? I don't know. I know that's something you and I have kicked around a lot. Maybe this is just an offense that's not going to work in the Big Ten. This isn't the Big 12 anymore. So. Yeah, I don't know. It's disheartening because, again, this is a game. And you kind of felt that momentum, right? Early in the game, Penn State comes out. You get that interception. Zakee Wheatley, by the way, I thought played his best game of the season tonight. He was all over the field. That interception. Had Penn State won this game, one of the biggest plays in the game that would have got overlooked would have been the open field tackle Wheatley made the play before Iowa attempted that field goal going into the half to cut the receiver down and force Iowa to burn a timeout and try a long field goal that Kirk Ferentz, I don't know what he was thinking after the practice attempt.
If Penn State wins this game, we're spending 20 minutes talking about that decision.
You're pointing, you're talking about that exact sequence of events: the open field tackle by Wheatley, the decision by Ferentz to still kick it after the practice attempt was 10 yards short, and then just a hell of a play by Xavier Gilliam blocked it, but denied Dennis Sutton blew up the interior of that line. Yvonne Kemajo was in there. A lot of the linemen deserve credit for it, and then for Elliott Washington to scoop that thing up and go. And you're thinking, man, they take the lead into the locker room on that. They get the ball to start the second half, like you said, Dylan, put together their best drive of the game, march down. It's 21-10. They seemingly have all the momentum, and you're thinking like, hey, they're going to, like you said, you started to get the feeling they might win this thing running away, right? And I said Wednesday night when we did a preview show, I felt like either Iowa was going to win this thing close or Penn State was going to come out, play motivated, pissed off football and win handedly. And when you had that sequence there going into the locker room and they block the field goal and run it back, come out and just run it right down their throats to start the second half. And you're thinking, hey, this is the team we expected to see all year. Maybe they are going to come into Kinnick and make a bit of a statement and run Iowa off the field. And, unfortunately, that's not how the rest of the second half went, as Penn State only scored 3 more points the rest of the game. But, it was there for the taking. They let it slip.
Yeah, this entire season is just going to – I'm looking at the standings. I'm just thinking how this entire season is going to be very interesting at the end to look back on and how everything developed. And we have plenty of time for that. But going back to this game, I thought Davian Collins had a good game tonight.
Yeah, he did. There was a tackle for loss he had in the second half where he just fought through a block from a tight end who's about 3 times the size of him. I agree. Collins had a strong game as well. I thought the secondary as a whole, I thought A.J. Harris – definitely bounced back after getting benched last week, had a good game. Now it's Iowa, so you'd expect your secondary to have a good game. But, I thought the secondary as a whole played pretty well today. Really the only bright spot on the defense, because the linebackers and the defensive line were not good.
Here's my 2 biggest takeaways. And this is one of the biggest problems Penn State's had all year. And these 2 players, they'll still probably end up going high in the draft next year, but just terribly disappointing years. Denied Dennis Sutton and Zane Durant. Do you want to take a guess how many combined tackles those 2 had tonight?
It couldn't have been many because I don't remember seeing either of them do
one.
Yeah.
Denied Dennis Sutton had 1 tackle. Zane Durant, invisible tonight.
Yeah. And that's been the story of the year for Zane Durant, right? I mean, denied Dennis Sutton was really good non-conference play.
These are 2 guys that we were coming into the season clamoring could be All-American players. Yeah. Denied Dennis Sutton a potential first-round pick. Zane Durant a potential first-round pick despite being undersized.
Yeah. It's almost like with denied Dennis Sutton, there were a couple plays against Oregon and where maybe this is just a microcosm of the team as a whole where it felt like he had Dante Moore dead to rights and couldn't finish the play. And if he finishes off 1 or 2 of those plays, maybe they win the game. It's almost like in a way that how the Oregon game seemingly broke the entire team. It's almost as that game broke denied Dennis Sutton.
You know what I think he also does a little bit too much? I think he tries to flag bait way too much.
Yes, I agree.
At points he gives up on the play and just tries to get the holding call instead of trying to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, and again, I go back to the Oregon game because there were multiple times he was clearly getting held and it was not getting called. And I understand the frustration. It's almost ever since then, like you said, he's trying to get flags called instead of just set the edge, rush the passer. Yeah, and I think part of it too with denied Dennis Sutton, and this is where Penn State misses Abdul Carter.
Yeah, Sutton
is not that game record pass rusher, right? He's just not. And I think the 5-star label he had as a recruit, kind of misconceived some people into what he is. He's still a very, very good defensive lineman.
You want to know what he is? He's slightly more productive Adafe Owe.
Yeah. The comparison I go to it with denied Dennis Sutton, again, as I said before, someone who has lived in Western Pennsylvania and watched the Pittsburgh Steelers my entire life, he's Cam Hayward. He's never going to be a great pass rusher. He's never going to be extremely disruptive, but he's going to be that guy who just quietly for 10, 11, 12 years is just really good.
Yeah.
Gets you 6-7 sacks a year.
I'm not going to be surprised if he turns into a good pro.
He's not a guy in offense has to scheme around the way they did Abdul Carter, the way they did Chop Robinson, the way they had Micah Parsons.
So, at the same time, some of this season, also has to go back on on Deion Barnes.
Yes.
I thought he was really good last year. This year, I mean, we could say this about a lot of positions, but I think the coaching has been poor at that position. It does not feel like that unit has taken a step forward this year.
If anything, it feels like they're taking a step back.
Yeah, and it's a big reason they can't stop opposing rushing attacks right now. Now,
Durant and Dennis Sutton, and as I said, I think it was Durant and Dennis Sutton definitely regressed from last year. It feels.
Yep.
And and I'm not even going to say it's them being the man because Durant was the man at DT last year. Yeah, you had Kezia Izzard and Devon Ellies, who, boy, does this team ever miss those two a lot more than I thought they would. But Durant was still the man there. And, and if you look at the younger guys, like Xavier Gilliam has done some really nice things, I felt. But for the most part, a lot of these younger guys, I thought, especially defensive tackle, would be further along than they are by now, and they're not. So, yeah, I agree. And go ahead. Just.
No, I'm going to say if we're talking about, a Russian attack, the Iowa Russian attack today, I mean, it's a second time in 3 games that Penn State has been gashed on the ground by a quarterback. And once again, we did not see a quarterback spot. Now, is that something that Jim Knowles is just opposed to at this point, or does he not trust what linebackers he has out there?
I personally, I think it's the latter. I think it's more of Tony Rojas would be the guy to do that. You take Rojas out. Don certainly isn't going to do it. And, you need to use Amari Campbell for a lot of other things. I think that's where –
Amari Campbell, 1 tackle today, by the way.
Yeah, this was definitely a very porous game for Campbell. But I think that's where, the fact that seemingly none of your young linebackers have come along and developed, that's where it's hurting you right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, I think we can go back to we can post-mortem this entire season down the road, but the hiring of Dan Connor felt like a good one on paper, but at the same time, it does feel like over the years James Franklin maybe put too much stock in guys that were part of the program and were working their way up when maybe he should over time should have went after more experienced coaches.
No, I agree. And I think Dan Connor is a fine example of that.
And maybe I'm just over criticizing, or not even being over critical. I don't know the word right now, but when a season goes like this, obviously Franklin's gone, but when a season goes like this, everything has to be, looked at with a fine-tooth comb and thought about. But yeah, I mean, and here's the unfortunate news for Penn State fans: the defense is probably not going to get a whole lot better. Maybe it gets better with the younger guys getting more experience, but they're not going to magically add more depth at linebacker in the next 5 games, nor at defensive tackle. If Penn State's going to win games going forward, it's going to be because of the offense, and we're going to talk about the offense in a little bit here. But despite the 24 points tonight, I'm not coming out of this game feeling all too great about the offense's future with Ethan Grunkemeyer this season.
No, and real quick with the defense,
we could too talk.
No, about one more note because I do want to talk about Grunk because I agree with you. There's definitely a lot of bad, but I'm going to chalk a lot of it up to first career start Kinnick State at night. I thought there was some good things from him too.
I did, and I want to talk about Kinnick State as well.
With the defense, this is from I'm sitting here scrolling through Twitter, and Tyler Donahue, who obviously, as I'm sure most of you know watching this, Tyler Donahue covers Penn State for Lions 247, does a tremendous job. Penn State led Oregon 24-17 in overtime, needed a defensive stop. Penn State led Northwestern 21-15 with less than 5 minutes left, needed a stop. Penn State led Iowa 24-19 with less than 5 minutes left, needed a stop.
Yeah.
Jim Knowles' defense was overwhelmed by UCLA. Penn State never led, but every time Penn State would get within a score, get within a chance to tie or take the lead, the defense would let UCLA go down and score again. So, yeah, I think
the second half defense this year has been terrible.
There's no reason to expect it to get better. And to me, it's wild because I still think Jim Knowles is a really good coach.
I was going to ask, at this moment, at this moment in time, if the next head coach would bring back Jim Knowles, would you be happy with that decision?
Yeah, I still think he's a good coach. I mean, you go back to the Oregon game. I thought the defense was basically the one and only reason they even had a shot to win that in overtime.
Sure.
Because the defense fought their asses off to keep them in that game when Oregon had opportunities to run away with it. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's frustrating, but yeah, we can talk about the offense because there's a lot there to digest as well. And I know one thing I think we're both going to want to hit on is, some of the things we saw was not necessarily performance-wise, but in terms of who's on the field at receiver tonight. But yeah,
I will say
out defensively.
And I'll be interested to see the snap counts tomorrow. But if there is one thing Terry Smith did, and we can talk about Terry Smith, head coaching debut. But if there's one thing he definitely did today, he did mix in more talent than we've seen in the past. Not at running back, but we did see, on offense, Ethan Grunkemeyer, obviously. We saw Jackson Smolik. Now, Smolik got hurt, it appears. So it looks like Penn State's going to be – Penn State's about to be in a – if Smolik's out for any extended period of time, they are in a terrible spot at quarterback. They're one injury away from going to a walk-on.
From going to Jack Lambert and not the linebacker.
Yeah, though they may have to look at him too.
I think you can pull his old teammate out of the box and see if he's got anything left.
But, Smolik played today. We saw Kobe Howard play. Denmark was on the field. We saw, Rapide has bin playing, but he played today.
Yeah. The two big with me, I wanted to point out. I know again,
numerous.
We talked about this with Clay in our group chat. Were Kobe Howard and Tyser Denmark, right? Because for weeks, people clamored for them. The media asked when we heard from James Franklin, "Hey, they're not ready. They're not this. They're not that." Well, Kobe Howard, the true freshman out of Florida, comes out tonight, and on I think it was literally his first snap of the game, catches a crossing route across the field, for 15 yards or 14 yards or whatever it was, 14 yards, the longest catch of the night for a Penn State receiver, by the way, and picks up a first down. We saw Tyser Denmark on the field a lot. With the way the receivers have struggled, why not try these young guys? We heard all summer how Kobe Howard was having a great camp, and we heard how Tyser Denmark is such a great technician as a route runner and this sort of thing. Why not? Why not see what they can do? So I was glad to see that. I was also glad, offensively with the running game, man, I don't know what's happened to Nick Singleton, but that's cool. But it was good to just feed Katron Allen. 28 carries is a new career high for him. Averaged over 5 yards a carry, 2 scores, his second straight 100-yard game. Katron's well on his way to finishing his career as the leading rusher in the history of Penn State football. He's this team's best player. Feed him, and they finally did that tonight.
Yeah, still, I'm fine with them mixing in Nicholas Singleton.
No, I am too. I've said all
but
along,
I did not.
One of his problems is they're not using him correctly.
Yes, that, and I did not think the times that they chose to use him were smart today. Like late in the game, you're facing, you need to get. If it's 3rd and 6, you need to get at least 5 yards or 4 yards. Nicholas Singleton has not shown that ability this year. This offensive line is not good enough for Nicholas Singleton to be effective. Though I do think the offensive line in general played well today, especially for Katron.
By the standard that's been set this year, they probably
it was still not good enough. I think Singleton hasn't been used properly, but at the same time, I did not like the times they did choose to use him today. But feeding Katron Allen was definitely something that needed to happen. That is another change that we've seen from the past. 28 carries to 6. We didn't see that type of numbers under James Franklin's leadership. But when Singleton was on the field, especially late in the game, I would not have gone to him. But that's neither here nor there. But Katron was great tonight. The offensive line was an improvement from what we saw. Still not good enough. I think we should talk about Gronkemeyer here.
Yeah, we probably, honestly, this on us, we should have gotten Ethan Gronkemeyer a lot sooner. But yeah, I mean, I thought, there were definitely some jitters there. There was definitely some, hey, this is my first career start.
Yep.
It's on the road. It's at Kinnick Stadium. It's at night, which, I mean, Kinnick Stadium at night.
I
Kinnick Stadium in general, one of the toughest environments in the Big Ten, especially Kinnick Stadium at night.
I will say, though, I do think Penn State, for the most part tonight, did a great job at neutralizing that crowd. They didn't really let the crowd get into the game until they failed on 4th and short.
I forgot about that play. What a terrible play call, by the way.
That was beginning of the 4th quarter.
Yeah, it was the right decision to go for that. That 4th and 1, where they motioned Luke Reynolds from out wide under center, and had Gronkemeyer looking at the sideline like he's trying to get a call, and took the snap. Going for it was the right call there. I had no problems with that, but that play call, especially on a night where Katron Allen's averaging 5.5 yards a carry, it's just an atrocious play call.
Yeah, by the way, Katron Allen about 443 yards away from the record after tonight. So still has a good chance again there, but he is going to have to string off a couple of good games here in the last there's already game 5 games this season.
443, you said?
Yeah, so he's going to have to average just under 100 yards.
Yeah, I mean, they have 5 more games, so he'll get that.
If they continue to feed him, he'll get there, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, he might run for 400 yards against Rutgers. Their defense can't stop anybody.
I agree. But Gronkemeyer, I thought Gronkemeyer was definitely showed first game jitters. He was up and down. Definitely was quick to give up on plays in the pocket.
Yes.
Especially early on. Anytime he didn't get his first read, he immediately wanted to get out of the pocket and run. And I think, honestly, it was a good play, but I think it may have been the worst thing for him for this game was the first time he had to scramble. He put off a Houdini act, got out of the pocket, evaded a couple defenders, and got yardage. I think that maybe gave him a little bit too much confidence the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. And this Iowa defense was just too good to let that happen multiple times. I thought overall his decisions at times to run were solid, but he also did give up on plays way too easily when the first read wasn't there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and there was one point in the broadcast where Michael Robinson even pointed that out, where he said, "Hey, this is." I forget what the situation was. I think it was a 3rd down, and the first read wasn't there. He stepped up, tried to run, hit a spin move, got about a yard. But had he waited a split second more, he had Luke Reynolds coming wide open across the middle on a crosser for a big gain, what would have been a first down. But yeah, a lot of that thing's first start jitters. I mean, the poor guy, your first career starts Kinnick Stadium at night. Your second career start is going to be at Columbus against the best team in the country. It doesn't get much rougher than that. But I thought what I really
your third career start is against what may be the number 1 team in the country when you face them too.
Well, they'll be number 2 because Ohio State's not going to lose to Penn State to fall out of that 1 ranking. But
we've seen teams jump randomly.
So. But yeah, you're right. Your first 3 starts, Kinnick Stadium tonight, on the road against Ohio State, and home against Indiana. And Ohio State and Indiana are going to be ranked 1-2 come tomorrow morning. But yeah, one thing I liked about Grunk though, and this is something that I always said was kind of something I thought Drew Aller could use more of. My buddy Adam texted me during the game, and he's like, "Man, Grunk's got kind of that Trace McSorley, that Matt McGloin, that Sean Clifford, a little bit of that moxie in him. Just he's going to fight, he's going to scramble around. He's
not worried about taking the big hit.
He's not, and that's good to see. Like the best passing plays they had tonight came when Gronkemeyer used his legs to extend things.
Yeah.
Right. So I do think that there's something there to work with. I mean, I've always been a big Grunk fan. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be at Penn State next year. Who knows on this roster who's here? But I do think Ethan Gronkemeyer is going to be a very good starting quarterback in the Power 4. And yeah, you saw a lot of rough tonight, but even like that one interception he threw, Luke Reynolds is blanketed by a guy, and he wasn't afraid to fire it in there and try and complete the pass still. Right?
Yeah.
I think he played with a bit of
ends up getting picked off, but it's not his fault. I don't blame him for that.
No, I don't either. That was a ball that Reynolds didn't get any separation. It still hit him. He probably started
running a tight end slant on.
Yeah. Why are you running a tight end slant on a corner? Like there's a lot there to dissect, but
not a great game for Andy Kotelnicki today.
Yeah, well, he hasn't had very many of those this year. So,
I will say the offense did look a little bit different than what we've seen in the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, there were some wrinkles tonight. There was a lot more two-back stuff tonight. Like that, the long run Tatron Allen had to open the second half. What was it, 35 yards, whatever it was, where you brought Singleton, faked it, handed to Allen up the middle. There was a play early where they brought Trevor Pena in motion, and out of like an orbit motion ran a quarterback option with him where it got pitched to Pena, and he got, I think, 8 or 9 yards, picked up a first down.
9 yards.
So there were some changes tonight I was glad to see, but at the same time, like, Kotelnicki definitely was not good enough.
Not good enough, and in key situations, the play calls were poor.
Yeah, I mean, again, that 4th and 1.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter, it's the right decision, terrible play call.
And we've seen this multiple times. The Oregon game, on the game losing interception, it seems like Kotelnicki is really trying to force Luke Reynolds to be Tyler Warren.
Yeah, that's fair, because I mean, even if Drew does not get it, go back to the Oregon play call. If Drew doesn't get intercepted there, Luke Reynolds is getting killed. If he gets it over Dylan Thieneman's head, that's a hospital ball to Luke Reynolds.
Yeah.
And again today, like to me, if you're gonna do the under center snap with the tight end, you should be doing that with Cole Dinkins or Andrew Rappleyea.
Yeah.
Right? Just because of the build alone. Luke Reynolds has the Tyler Gesicki build. That's not gonna work. Rappleyea and Dinkins are more of in that Tyler Warren, Pat Fryermuth build, where get under the center, take the ball, and shove your way forward for yards going to work.
Their profiles only say there's a 6-pound difference, but I don't know, man. When you look at Tyler Warren, you look at Luke Reynolds, those are two wildly different builds.
I mean, there might be a 6-pound difference, but they're built a lot different. They're still built much different.
Yeah, Tyler Warren is a absolute behemoth of a man. But it's also why he's such a special tight end. And off topic, Bears are looking like fools for taking Loveland over Warren.
Well, I mean, as our resident Minnesota Viking fan here, anytime the Chicago Bears look like fools, I'm all for it. So
that's right. And I still think Luke can be a good tight end in the future, but I definitely think he does need to get bigger going forward. He's just, because if not, he's just going to continue to struggle to get separation in those types of situations. And he's a terrible blocker. Let's be straight up. He's a terrible blocker.
The thing with Reynolds, too, is blocking. He's not afraid to throw his hat in there and try and block somebody.
No.
Right, which is good, because a lot of time with these guys who are poor blockers, it's because they look like they don't want to block anyone.
It's not a lack of effort.
It's all Luke Reynolds. He's not afraid to mix up and try and block somebody. So if you've got that in you, the ability's there with a good strength coach. And I'm not saying Chuck Lowley isn't a good strength coach.
No,
he certainly is.
Maybe the best in the country.
A good strength coach to put on some weight, put on some muscle, put on some size, and become a good blocker. Because a lot of times, the ability to be a good blocker in football is wanting to do it, being willing to do it. And he's definitely more than willing to do it.
Yeah. He looks like a guy who wasn't asked to block a ton in high school.
And he wasn't. He played quarterback in high school for a lot of his career.
Really fair. A lot of times, it's almost the other way around, right? Most of your tight ends are usually blocking more in high school, especially depending on where you recruit them from. Like in Pennsylvania, there's very few reasons that there's, Andrew Olishes out there, right? And Andrew Olish was more of a wide receiver coming out of high school than he was a tight end. Luke Reynolds looks like a kid who wasn't asked to block a ton. And
you can see it.
He probably will never be a great blocker. But also, if you're Penn State, you know he's not a good blocker. Why are you putting him in those situations? Like that's my issue. Is it does seem like a lot this season. The coaching staff has put players in situations to fail.
Yeah, and I think it's been a lot of the situation, or this season, excuse me, of putting players in situations where they're not used to the best of their ability. Right, I have sat here all year and have pounded the table on how they've used Nick Singleton and how it is not setting Nick Singleton up for success. It is not using Nick Singleton of what he does best. And I think it's similar with Reynolds. Defensively, I think there's some of that going on as well. But yeah, that's definitely been an issue this year. And like you said with Reynolds, he is what he is, which can be a very Mike Gesicki couldn't block a cardboard cutout and had a pretty damn good career at Penn State.
And he's had a long career in the NFL.
Yeah, he's made a lot of money in the NFL and he's still out there playing. Like you can make it work, but that's up to coaching, and that's something that they have not done a good job of this year.
Yeah, the downside of being so reliant on Tyler Warren last year was that a lot of these guys didn't get playing time at a lot of not playing time because they ran multiple tight end looks, but I still feel like you're seeing a lack of experience, a lack of development at the tight end spot. And probably, I don't blame them for not doing anything at tight end this offseason, but perhaps it should have been a little bit of a bigger concern coming in the season that your best option was Khalil Dinkins, who is solid, but not the more. But again, that's a post-mortem issue down the road. Going back to Grunkmeyer, saw some good, saw some bad. He's not the reason they lost tonight. He's not the biggest reason they lost tonight. But I don't get, good feelings that this is going to be, a speed bump for him. I think it's probably a sign of what we're going to see in the next two games. Maybe he has a game or two down the stretch there, but I think the passing attack is going to be a struggle for Grunkmeyer. I think he'll throw for more than 93 yards at some point, but
I hope so.
But I don't expect him to be lining it up at any point down the rest of the way.
Well, I think part of it too with Grunkmeyer is
he also has no wide receivers.
But that's part of it. The wide receivers still stink. And again, I want to see more Kobe Howard, more Tysier Denmark like we did today moving forward. Like I said earlier, when Grunkmeyer was at his best tonight, he's using his legs, he's running around, he's making plays. And, like you mentioned, if Jackson Smollett's going to miss any extended period of time, and you're staring down the barrel of having Ethan Grunkmeyer, a walk-on, and Beckham Kritza, who, is
very, very raw quarterback who should not see the field this season or next season, or maybe the season after that.
Probably never should have. This is Micah Bowens 2.0 in some ways.
Yeah, it was a question.
You're going to be. What I'm getting at is you're going to be a lot less willing to run your quarterback in that situation.
Yeah, and it's funny because I almost feel like with Drew at times too, when he could use his legs, when they allowed him to use his legs, is when we saw the best version of Drew.
I agree. When they were going tempo, using his legs, just extend the play, extend the pocket, that's always when Drew Aller was at his best. And we saw that thing with Grunkmeyer as well.
Yeah. So, if they're going to have any success going forward, it's going to have to be on the ground. But, I came in this game thinking, if they won tonight, maybe they go 6-6, maybe they go 7-5. I do think they could find a win or two the rest of the way. But
I think 6-6 is the absolute ceiling at this point, obviously, because you're not going to beat Ohio State or Indiana.
The offense is not going to be good the rest of the season.
No. I don't think the defense is either.
Let's go over the remaining schedule. Ohio State, Indiana, Michigan State, Nebraska, Rutgers. I know Nebraska just lost last night, but that is a solid enough defense that Penn State is going to have trouble. And Penn State doesn't have Darius. Katron Allen is just as good as Darius Taylor. I think Darius Taylor's one of the most underrated players in the country, but they don't have a home run hitter like Darius Taylor. I think that's fair to say. Katron Allen isn't a home run hitter. He's getting you 5, 6, 7 yards, and that's fine. And they don't have Drake Lindsay at quarterback.
No.
Nor the wide receivers that Minnesota has. So that's going to be tough. They're not going to win the next two. I don't know if they're going to break double-digit points in the next 2 games. Michigan State, they probably should beat, and they should probably beat Rutgers, but that puts you at 5-7. So,
and my thing is too, it's I don't know. This is without me looking at schedules or anything for those 2 teams. I don't know when you get to Michigan State and Rutgers, what it's the quit factor too, and the who the hell cares between the 2 teams factor at that point, right? Like I'm looking at Rutgers' schedule now; they're 3-4. They've got Purdue, they've got Maryland, so Rutgers could be playing for a bowl game.
Michigan
that
State
last game of the season. Michigan State will not be playing for a bowl game when they play.
Yeah, they got Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota.
And Michigan State's probably going to be 3-6, and that could be. Hey, Penn State, Michigan State, Land Grant Trophy, 3-6, 0-6 in the Big Ten versus 3-6, 0-6 in the Big Ten. That's the good stuff there. But the Land Grant Trophy deserves nothing less. That beautiful specimen. But I'm not going to be surprised if they don't win another game.
Yeah, and it's the offense isn't going to be good enough. I wouldn't be surprised outside of Michigan State and Rutgers. I'd be surprised if they scored more points tonight against Ohio State, Indiana, Nebraska than they did tonight. I think
they scored more against Nebraska. I mean, not that Penn State's been good in this area by any means, but Nebraska's god awful in the line of scrimmages.
They are, but it does become easier when you probably don't trust. Because I think part of that as the game went on tonight was Penn State did not trust Grunkmeyer to throw the ball in key situations.
Correct, which I understand, especially in this setting with his first career start. I get not trusting your quarterback there. I don't know if that trust. I do too. I don't know if that trust will. If there will be trust 3-4 weeks from now. Either way, let's talk about Terry Smith quickly, and then we'll talk about the James Franklin interview, and we can get out of here. Terry Smith, I thought, I have no qualms about his decision-making tonight. I thought he coached the game aggressively, as he should. He should coach every game aggressively from here on out. There's nothing to lose. I thought go for it on the 4th down when he chose to were solid moves. So, obviously backfired on that one. But the defense, recovered. And that is worth noting about when we talked about those 3 scoring drives, is one of those was on short field. But at the same time, Penn State gets the field goal late, goes up, and then the defense gives up, scored like 4 plays later. So, I mean, good and bad. But, I thought Terry Smith had his team fighting tonight. Effort was not an issue tonight. I thought, I thought it was a good debut for Terry Smith. It's a shame that he can get the win in this one, because it is going to be hard, even with Michigan State and Rutgers on the schedule, to get a win here after this one. Yeah, I agree. I thought Terry deserved this one. I mean, I know they've said it. It's whatever. He's Penn State through and through. He really is. Terry deserved this. He's a great guy. I've met him before. He's a wonderful human being. I had no qualms whatsoever with this coaching. Like you said, the 4th down decisions to go for it were the right calls. The play calling wasn't always the right call, but that's on Andy Koldernicki. That's not on him, right? Your head coach makes the call if we're going to go or not. And then if you do go, your offensive coordinator is going to pick the play, right? So that's on him. And I agree. I thought the team fought. I thought they played hard, which was, not a given by any means coming into this thing that they were going to do that. And that was good to see. So, I mean, I think these guys in that locker room, they really respect Terry Smith. They love Terry Smith. I know I've said it a bunch. Whoever the next head coach is, I think one of the first things they need to do is make every effort to retain Terry Smith on this coaching staff moving forward.
Yeah.
a lot of different reasons, between his recruiting, his relationship with the kids on this team now, his ability to just coach and cultivate and develop cornerbacks. He can be a really good liaison to the Letterman. But yeah, I thought Terry Smith, all in all, it was a fine game by him, especially for his first go round as a head coach at this level. I mean, the last time Terry Smith was a head coach, he was coaching for a high school football in Pennsylvania. So there's a big jump from Gateway High School to Penn State University in the Big Ten.
And by the way, you're going up against one of the most successful Big Ten coach, the most successful Big Ten coach by wins ever.
Correct, and the longest active coach, not just in the Big Ten, but in all of college football. Followed only by PJ Fleck, which Tim Brando told you all about last night. He may have gotten it from somebody else, but I thought Terry Smith was the reasons why they lost tonight. Terry Smith and Ethan Grunkemeyer both are very, very low on that list.
Absolutely. I will say I do have one qualm, and it's something we talked about. If you're Terry Smith, you have to tell Andy Kolesnicki that, hey, we're already down to our second-string quarterback. You cannot use your third-string quarterback tonight as a battering ram and risk injury, because,
or at least not as often as they did.
Exactly, because if that is any sort of long-term injury, which Terry Smith did not talk about after the game, Penn State is in a very, very bad spot. Not even describably, you can't even describe how bad of a quarterback spot it would be for Penn State.
And again, God forbid. I mean, God forbid Ethan Grunkemeyer will get hurt. Who was it? The Christian Veilleux game, the walk-on, I think we're number 20, who almost had to start to convert a receiver because the whole quarterback room had the flu or whatever it was. We're not far from that.
That was Rutgers 2020.
Was it Rutgers? Yeah, it was Rutgers, because Veilleux wound up starting, but he almost didn't because the flu bug was cutting through their quarterback room. Oh, yeah. He started a receiver.
Oh
God.
Let's see if I can find it. There's some names. Isaac Lutz played in that game.
Oh Christ!
This is a throw. There are some names here.
I'm on their roster. Give me a second here. I know this has nothing to do with this game, but you guys will. Let's see here. Number 20. He's not even. They're not even. Whoever it was is not even listed on the official roster from the 2021 season. So that is probably pretty telling. But anyway, like you said, they're in a really bad spot here at quarterback now, assuming this is any sort of significant
Mason Stahl.
Mason Stahl, yes. But
he was 17.
So I thought he wore number 20. Anyway, maybe we're number 20.
He did convert to wide receiver the next season.
That's something I'm probably thinking he had 20 as a receiver. But anyway, yeah, if this is any sort of significant injury to Jackson Smolik, they're in a real bad spot at quarterback. But I mean, again, you're probably at this point, I don't know how much that matters.
Talking backup quarterbacks, former Nittany Lion quarterback Bo Papillo just threw a late interception against Auburn.
After a little sack, but
yeah. So because everybody loves bringing up what would Penn State be doing with Bo this year. I think we've seen with Bo this season that he's probably just about as good Drew would have been.
I mean, I think Bo's a better fit for the offense, but by no means would they be.
It's not like he's lied in.
They're not going to be. They wouldn't be 7-0.
The non-con was a mirage a little bit for Missouri and Papillo. But yeah, I feel bad for Terry that he didn't get the win. But no qualms outside of the using your third string quarterback as a battering ram when you're already down a quarterback. Any other things on this game? I mean, at the end of the day, I think they were the better team for a good chunk of this game. Mm-hmm. But they have too many holes on this team, specifically. I think it comes back down to wide receiver. It comes back down to defensive tackle and linebacker. Those are the three areas that they're really weak, and it's cost them this game and the Oregon game especially.
Yeah, and I mean, it probably cost them the UCLA game as well, as Nico Malieva just ran around.
It cost them all four games, but these two were. I'm including the quid factor and the effort factor into those two middle losses.
Yeah, especially the Northwestern game. I mean, the UCLA game on defense as a whole and the Northwestern game. But I mean, to go back to that quit factor, one thing, and then we can get into the interview with James on game day and wrap this up. Again, I think this is where you give a lot of credit to Terry Smith and this coaching staff. Was, you said it yourself, most of this game they were the better team. And I didn't expect that tonight. And I think you got to give a lot of credit to Terry Smith, a lot of credit to this coaching staff to get these kids up, get them ready to play, get them ready to go into Kinnick Stadium, one of the most hostile environments, not just in the Big Ten, but all of college football, and come out and for the majority of the game, be the better team on the field. And not that Iowa is some world beaters by any means, but this is a 5-2 Iowa team, right? It's not like they're bad. This is an Iowa team that, and some of it's going to be because of the schedule, but you look at the remaining schedule, like other than Oregon, I don't think there's a single game on that schedule I'm going to say they can't win. Like, this is an Iowa team that could win 9 games, or they're a good team. And Iowa's always going to be tough. They're always going to be well coached. They're always going to be disciplined. And Penn State came out and for most of the game was the better team. And I think the coaching staff deserves an astronomical amount of credit for that, to have them be that way in a game like this.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see with the bye week coming up before Ohio State. I don't expect any drastic changes, but I won't be surprised if we see some additional, not major differences, but there's some different stuff that happens in that Ohio State game. That's a game where if you're Penn State, you might as well be aggressive. You might as well try some different things out just to see what you can do against the Buckeyes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if that game is much closer than it should be.
Oh, yeah, I will be too, because they always get for Ohio State. And I'm not trying to go full Dan Fouts in the water boy here, but hey, you don't hold anything back, right? You've got nothing to lose at this point.
Last time Penn State beat Ohio State, they had an interim.
Yeah, against everybody the rest of the year, but especially Ohio State and Indiana. It's empty the playbook. Empty the playbook, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Let's talk about James's interview today. A lot of people made a big deal about it on X. I thought it was what exactly it was going to be. It was, Sexton, his agent, also the agent of most, Jimmy Sexton, that is, also the agent of most of college football's biggest coaches, getting his client on a national show with one of his other clients, Nick Saban. And, it was never going to be a hard-hitting journalism, interview. It was going to be a rehab interview. So James can get back on the horse. This is clearly telling me, as this interview did as well, but just the fact that he was on the show, everything he said today, obviously points that he's trying to get back on the horse right away. He'll be on the sideline next fall.
No, I agree. He will be. And I mean, I know this is something you and I discussed earlier in the week. I don't think it's a coincidence that James Franklin gets fired and 24 hours later, all of a sudden, hey, Billy Napier is getting fired on Sunday no matter what. I'm not saying it's, signed, still delivering anything in the means that Franklin's going to be the next coach of Florida, but I don't think it's a coincidence either that Florida probably wants to start, getting them involved there. The only way James Franklin's not a head coach in 2026 and at the Power Four is if he doesn't want to be, and he made it very clear he wants to be. I will say too, I think to James, tip of the cap to him, because there were a lot of things in that interview he could have handled differently, and he didn't.
Class.
Yes, but that's James Franklin.
Yeah, there was no doubt.
Yeah, that's always been him. And like I said, whenever he was fired, that's part of what made this so difficult. Is he's a genuinely good person, and he cared about this university. He cares about his players. And there was nothing he wanted more than to bring a national championship to Penn State, and he made that very clear. And he came real close last year, and unfortunately, he came up short. And now here we are with Penn State looking for a new coach. But I thought that was a really good job by him. I thought also, one thing that really stuck out to me that I think is very true that Pat McAfee said during it. Obviously, McAfee's got a lot of ties to Pennsylvania, being from Pittsburgh and everything. McAfee mentioned, hey, knowing a lot of Penn State people who, it may not feel this way right now, Coach, but trust me, they're always going to be thankful for what you did there. And I think that's the truth. Even the biggest like Franklin detractors, if you take a step back and look at what he inherited and not just what he built Penn State back into, but how quickly he did it, there's no reason to be anything but thankful. And I thought that was a very good point by McAfee during that.
Yeah, I thought it was a good point. People are upset. The Franklin the Hayden contingent is upset that he wasn't asked, like, oh, why did you suck in big games? Why couldn't you beat a top 10 opponent? What happened the last 4 weeks? But that was never going to happen today.
Well, not even that. Reese Davis asked him. He said, hey, it was either him or Kirk said, part of your problem, the reputation, top 10 teams.
Yeah.
What are you going to change moving forward to try and address that problem? So it's not like they skirted around it. The question was, maybe it wasn't asked the way you wanted it to be asked as bluntly as people would hope for, but it was still brought up.
Yeah, and I saw people using calling it a hit piece on Penn State. I don't think it was a hit piece
he could have made that hit piece on Penn State real easily if he wanted to.
The biggest hit piece part of that was Nick Saban's comments. But here's the thing. Nick Saban is always going to defend another coach. Yes. And every coach in America is going to defend
each other, especially when you have the same agent.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I didn't think it was if it was a hit piece, who cares? It's not going to affect any coaching.
It's going to have no impact. Yeah. No one's going to watch that interview. It doesn't matter if you're any of these coaches being rumored for Penn State. You're not going to watch the interview and say, you know what? Never mind. I don't want the job anymore.
They know what they're signing up for. All they care about is what's going to be on the check every week when they get paid and what resources they're going to have to build a team. And at the end of the day, these coaches want to win. They'll go anywhere to win. So I think people made a way too big of a deal out of that interview today. James handled it all class. I don't think anything ESPN said was out of line or ridiculous. It was exactly what I expected it to be. I know people got upset for Pat McAfee calling it a cult. I think that's anybody who's around this program, any college football program of this stature, the fan base is a cult.
You're taking the words right out of my mouth. It doesn't. They all are. That's part of college football fanhood. It doesn't matter if you're Penn State, if you're Alabama. That's what it is. That Ohio State, Tech. I mean, if anybody is, it's Texas A&M. Like it's just that's what it is.
And then just off that, I do find it kind of funny that this week every coach outside of one. And I don't want to say too many names just because I don't know what is public information out there, what has been said on Twitter or not.
Yeah.
But most of the names that have been connected to this job, Mad Rule, Eli Drinkowitz, I don't think Lane Kiffin's coming to State College, but Lane Kiffin's name has been thrown out there. Mike Elko. They all didn't lose today or yesterday, but none of them really had games that you're like
they all either lost or they're playing with their food against an inferior opponent. So it doesn't make you want a little bit.
I did just find it funny that all the coaches that have been either loosely connected or legitimately connected with the job did not have great weeks. So I thought that was funny.
No, they did not, and it is what it is. We'll see where this coaching. I mean, the coaching search, we've probably still got at least 6 weeks ahead of us. Best case scenario, if not more.
At least.
So we'll see where we're at here, but
if it's less than 8-9 weeks, it's going to be somebody who's not in the playoff, and then are Penn State fans happy with poaching a coach who didn't make the playoffs?
Yeah, it's the great conundrum because I mean. Some coaches, specifically Matt Rule, you've got Penn State fans wanting them to lose because they want to make sure they don't get the job. Some other coaches,
important note,
to lose because you want them to get the job, want to make sure they don't make the playoffs. So that's
important note with the search is, yes, you still have early sign day in January, but transfer portal doesn't open up till January now.
Yeah, I think the transfer portal is more important here than the early signing period in December.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not like if you're waiting for somebody who's in the semifinals or the quarterfinals of the playoffs, it's not a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, it is. It's not what it would have been in the past, but I mean, unless you have anything else, Dylan, I think we
I think we covered it all.
I mean, packing in for the night, like I said, another frustrating loss for Penn State, fourth in a row. I mean, when's the last time they lost 4 games in a row?
2020.
I don't know. Did they start 0-4 that year or 0-3?
I'm gonna check it out here.
Because
they started 0-5 that year.
They started 0-5. That's right. But yeah, I was gonna say, because if it wasn't 2020, I think you'd probably have to go back to one of the dark years of the early 2000s. They had 4 losing seasons and 5 tries.
2015, they ended the season on a 4-game.
Oh, that's right. That was the year they started 7-2, and then that was the famous. They came into 2016, hadn't won a game since before Halloween. But
they also lost 4 straight in 2014.
I knew 2014 they lost. I thought there was 3 or 4. But anyway, yeah, this is 4 in a row for the first time since 2020. It's a tough spot for Penn State to be in. But yeah, we'll have a bye week this week. So I don't know when we'll talk to you guys next. Might be a week from this upcoming Wednesday when we come together to attempt to preview what could be the massacre in the horseshoe against Ohio State in a couple of weeks. If anything major happens to break in the coaching search between now and then, we'll be with you guys. But if not, as always, thank you for joining us here at the Whiteout Report podcast, our friends at Proline TV. For Dylan, I'm Marty. If we don't speak sooner, we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks when we come together to preview Penn State's trip to Columbus and trip to the horseshoe to battle Ohio State. And hey, just, wouldn't it be hilarious if this was the year they finally get the Ohio State monkey off their back? Not that I'm expecting it, but you never know.